Chapter 79. Our Wedding. Adrian and his best man, Matt Leighton Fry, and the ushers, my brothers Paul and Nicholas, and Adrian's sister, Alison's sons, Tyrone and Tyson Pollard, got to the church very early, all preparing for the ceremony. The vicar was there also, making sure that everything was just the way it was supposed to be. The organist was there too, enjoying his job and loving the smiles and the friendly banter from all the guests. The choir were excited, and everyone who walked into the church commented on how pretty it was. My mum, Christy, and I were busy trying to get every photo perfect and every strand of hair in the right place. My dad opened a bottle of champagne, which we obviously enjoyed after the toast made by my dad. Coming down the stairs with a huge smile on my face, I heard a neigh from outside the hotel. My horse and carriage were waiting patiently for me to arrive. We had ordered 2 white Shah-type horses with a gorgeous white carriage, and I got into the carriage with my dad, ready for the ride to the church. Paul Langley, a good friend of mine, after giving me a hug and a kiss on my cheek, drove a stunning Rolls Royce that Christy and my mum were overjoyed with getting to sit in. We all got to the church fashionably late. There were some friends outside of the church wishing me well and wanting me to smile for the cameras. The local paper were there too, which I was pleased to see. Eventually, my mum went into the church, following the vicar, and this is when the music changed, and Adrian realised that I must have arrived. I had told him about the tape that would play just before I entered, and he stood up with Matt, ready for the next change of song. "Do not turn around until Stephanie enters the church," Adrian was told about 2 or 3 times by the vicar before Adrian turned the correct way. "Here Comes the Bride" started being played by the organist, and a smile crept onto both of our faces. My dad and I started walking forward in time to the music. "Walk slowly and enjoy every second," my dad had said, so we did. I looked around but couldn't see anything for a bit because it had been so light outside and therefore so dark relatively inside. This made me giggle. I saw a number of my friends in the church and the families as I moved up the aisle. Amazingly, they were all here for our special day. Bang! I hit one of the lit candles that Matt and the ushers had placed on the aisle to light my path. The glass lantern fell to the floor, but I kept moving, and Sarah Leighton Fry kindly picked up the lantern and placed it back in its place. My dad and I walked up to our positions in the church, and I was met by Adrian, who looked very handsome. Matt was stood by his side, also looking very proud. Christy pulled up next to me and started arranging my veil and headpiece with the flowers, which were thrown to my dad to hold for a moment. Once I looked good, Christy moved over with my dad and the ceremony was ready to begin. The vicar welcomed us into the church. We had done a rehearsal a couple of days ago, so we were ready for all the exciting speeches. Adrian and I had asked Alistair Hignell, Paul, Nicholas and Heather Marshall to do readings for us. Alistair was the first one, and he read a lovely poem that made me smile. Nicholas was the second, after we had sang one of our hymns. Nicholas gave a lovely reading about love, which I really enjoyed. Then Paul was the next one, and he read Corinthians 21, a reading from the Bible. It was a perfect reading, and he did it very well indeed. The vicar kept commenting on Paul's reading, as it was a good reference to the love between Adrian and I, which was being honoured and celebrated today. The next speaker was Heather Marshall, who did a lovely reading for us. Heather read from Captain Corelli's Mandolin. "Love is a temporary madness. It erupts like volcanoes and then subsides. And when it subsides, you have to make a decision. You have to work out whether your root was so entwined together that it is inconceivable that you should ever part, because this is what love is. Love is not breathlessness. It is not excitement. It is not the promulgation of promises of external passion. This is just being in love, which any fool can do. Love itself is what is left over when being in love has burned away, and this is both an art and a fortunate accident. Those that truly love have roots that grow towards each other underground, and when all the pretty blossoms have fallen from their branches, they find that they are one tree, and not two." From Captain Corelli's Mandolin by Louis de Bernis. I love this quote, and it was amazing that Heather read it so well. After Heather's words, it was time for Adrian and I to make our own vows. Adrian and I had watched and enjoyed all the series of Smallville, which is a series about Superman and of his true love, Lois Lane. Adrian and I watched their wedding in the series and used their words to help write our own vows. Stephanie, I wanted these vows to be perfect, but perfection is a hard thing to get your hands on. But life is meant to be a little messy when it comes to love. You only sign up for it if it is the only thing you can ever imagine doing. Adrian, I, Adrian McHugh, take you, Stephanie Millward, to be my companion forever. With you by my side, I will never be alone. Stephanie, you are my best friend. You are my hope. You are my true love, and I am yours and will be forever. Adrian, on this day, at this moment, I pledge the rest of my life to you. You've always believed in me, and I believe in you. And when you believe in someone, it's not for a minute, not just for a second. It is forever. After our lovely vows, the vicar continued with normal vows. Adrian and I looked lovingly into each other's eyes as we both said, I do. Our wedding was full of love, and a choir helped to make perfect music. Leaving the church at the end of the ceremony, I felt truly loved by all of my friends and family. Towards the end of the ceremony, when we were signing the legal papers, a young girl called Zara sang a lovely song for us. She was an amazing singer, and everyone listened with open mouths. What an incredible singer. Adrian and I stood outside of the church, covered by the sunshine, as all our friends came out of the church. It was amazing to speak to everyone, and they all said how much they loved the wedding. Lots of photos followed from the newspapers and from our friends and family. The next step was walking up to the horses and the carriage, and all our friends threw confetti all over us. It was a lovely feeling walking through all our smiling, happy friends after our amazing wedding. We got into the carriage and the horses had to canter to get some of the way up the steep hill. Sorry, guys. We had 3 breaks on our road to the hotel because both the horses were ready for retirement, and this was their last ever ride. I loved the breaks as I sat in the carriage with a massive smile on my face, loving everything about the day. 2 horses in an adjoining field cantered by the fence to try to be part of our herd. It was lovely to see these horses joining in on our fantastic day. Alison, Adrian's sister, who was so excited and happy about the day, saw us having a break and was desperate to beep the car horn before Dale reminded her that the horses would probably hate the sound of the horn and might have been spooked by it. I am so glad Dale jumped in there. Adrian and I got to the hotel quite late, but still received a massive cheer from all of our waiting guests. Victoria Clowen was singing lovely songs for us, and we listened with amazement at the sound of her stunning voice. The function room looked absolutely beautiful, with all the flowers that were on the tables and all of the lighting. It all looked so amazing. Everyone had a huge smile on their faces. We sat down at the top table, which had John McHugh, Adrian's dad, Matt Leighton Fry, Adrian, me, my mum, Linda Millward, Christy Millward, and my dad, Mike Millward. Adrian lost his mum Jane to cancer when he was just 21, but in some way I hope she was watching her son get married to me, and I hope she feels very proud of him. The food was brilliant with leek and potato soup as the starter, beef bourguignon with mashed potatoes and vegetables for the main meal, then a fantastic chocolate cake, which I could have eaten thousands of it if I had been given the choice. It was an amazing meal. Afterwards, it was time for the speeches, which Matt, being the compere, tells everyone when to speak. My dad was the first to speak, and his was a lovely speech, although the tears forced him to finish early. He sounded so proud of me. We have all been through so much and travelled so far, and Dad just couldn't control his emotions. I was amazed that I could, truthfully, as tears never far from my eyes normally. My mum was the next speaker, and normally mums don't speak at a wedding, but when I got sick, my mum was my life and soul, and she was the person helping me to pick up my broken jigsaw puzzle, and who dried my tears when the emotions just flooded out. My mum's speech was amazing. We almost lost Nan last year, and I remember sitting at the hospital bed wondering how we could bring this lifeless body back to life. Her coma calmed down, and just before we were going to turn off her life support, we saw a flicker in her eyelids. This was enough. Paul flew back from America, saw the body lying there, and couldn't understand why we were saying she was much better than that day. Mum had to applaud Nan for being able to come to the wedding after her fight with the coma. Matt, the best man, was the next speaker, and he did what best men do and knocked Adrian down a couple of times, but made us all laugh madly. Adrian's speech was last. Adrian thanked everyone for coming, and he thanked Paul and Kerry, Paul's partner, for paying for the wedding cake. He then started off with an amazing speech that made everyone laugh uncontrollably about our fight with Satnav. We never seem to be able to get anywhere without having a problem with Satnav or closed roads, and as usual, we have to phone my mum for help. It was so funny because it happens so often. Everyone was in a great mood when we moved to another room for the tables to be cleared and the room to be changed into a dance floor. This room had the wedding cake in it, which was stunning, with huge icing roses on the side. The cake had been made by Robin Saviour, and it was amazing. When the dance floor was opened, we all moved in, ready for a dance. The first dance was our first dance, and we had chosen Snow Patrol's Chasing Cars, which has been a favourite of ours for a long time. The second dance was for me and my dad. I had chosen Tim McGraw's My Little Girl because I love the song and it seemed perfect. After these two songs, everyone joined in the dancing. We had such an amazing evening full of fun and excitement. We had a wedding perfect for our dreams. I am living that fairy tale life with the perfect husband, perfect life and perfect friends. Everything is perfect now, a life to be so very proud of. A life, my life, full of dreams that have all come true.